This is SAT Practice Test 4, Section 4, the Math Calculator section, question number 5. The density of an object is equal to the mass of the object divided by the volume of the object. What is the volume in milliliters, of an object with a mass of 24 grams and a density of 3 grams per milliliter? So it gives us a formula here. It says the density of an object. We're turning these words into math. We'll call density D. First, I'll get my pen here. Density of an object is equals the mass of the object, that's M, divided by the volume of the object, V. And what they want us to find is what is the volume in milliliters of an object. Well, the units don't matter unless you start using the units and canceling things. But they want volume equals something. So we need to get volume by itself. We want something like volume equals a bunch of other stuff. And you can find this kind of question or the explanation for it in the SAT and ACT Math Guide, section 2.10, in terms of problems. They call them problems. I call them questions because they're on the SAT test. I can't edit the whole book. But it explains there how to do these kinds of questions. How do we get volume equals a bunch of other stuff? Well, we keep doing the opposite operation until we get volume by itself. So notice here, mass is divided by volume. I don't want volume on the bottom of a fraction. I want volume equals stuff. So since I'm dividing by volume, I multiply both sides by volume. Yes, this is basic algebra. That's what these in terms of questions are. One of the tricks SAT uses is to go through very basic math, or to require very basic math that students who are taking the SAT don't think of anymore because they're on more advanced math. So in other words, because it's so simple, it becomes more complicated. People have a hard time remembering it. But think simple. If you think simple, you'll recognize, I know this. This is just regular algebra, basic algebra. Since I'm dividing by volume, I multiply both sides by volume. I'm just going to write dV equals M. So the volumes cancel out. Well, I want volume by itself. I want volume equals stuff. So I'm multiplying by density. I divide by density. And I get volume equals mass divided by density. All right. You could even, for this type of question, you might not run into another question that has density, mass, and volume. You might run into some other stuff, and doing this basic algebra is the way that you get something in terms of. But this is a formula that you could memorize. I mean, it might come in handy. It might be tested at some time again. Volume equals mass over density, or density equals mass over volume. That's a standard formula. So you might want to write that on your supplemental math cheat sheet. Density equals mass over volume. And then you could write volume equals mass over density. Write them both down, memorize them. It's not going to cost you anything. Then if you get another question about volume, density, and mass, you'll already be ready. You won't even have to do this algebra. You'll save a lot of time. But anyway, we manipulated it using standard algebra, basic algebra, and we found that volume equals mass over density. Now, do they tell us the volume? No, that's what we want to find. So we don't know what the volume is. Equals. They tell us the mass, 24 grams. And they tell us the density, 8. The units don't matter, again, unless you're using units and canceling things, but you don't really have to do that. We know that they're trying to find volume. So 24 divided by 8, you can use your calculator if you want, or you may have your multiplication tables memorized, which I recommend you do. 24 divided by 8 equals 3, and I wrote the wrong numbers in. I was testing you. Okay. The density they told us is 3, and now you're saying, but you said it was 8. Okay, I made a mistake. It's 3. 24 divided by 3 equals 8. And the reason I didn't edit the video is because I wanted to show you that even if you make a mistake, because you're writing it down, you will tend to catch those mistakes. Because I had it written down, when I looked above, I said, wait a minute, it said the density was 3, not 8. 8 was one of the answer choices. So I have to do 24 divided by 3, mass divided by density equals 8. Now, maybe you're not so good at manipulating formulas. All right, if you don't want to do that, or in manipulating equations, if you don't want to do that, we can start from density equals mass over volume and try the answer choices. These are possible volumes, all these answer choices. So I'll write down the density, 3 equals, the mass they gave us is 24, divided by, we're looking at answer choice A, 0.125. Well, what does 24 divided by 0.125 equal? 24 divided by 0.125, boom, 192. Does 192 equal 3? Absolutely not. Let's try answer choice B. We know it's right, but we're going to check it. 3 equals 24 divided by 8. Again, you may know your multiplication tables, or you do use your calculator. 24 divided by 8 equals 3. Yes, 3 equals 3. B is the answer. Now, I circle it. I should have circled it down here where I found out it was 8 after I corrected that other mistake I made. Oh my goodness, making mistakes. And then make sure I bubble exactly what I've circled. You'd hate to circle the right answer and then bubble the wrong one anyway. So 3 equals 24 divided by 8. That equals 3. 3 equals 3. Yes. All right, let's try answer choice C. A didn't work. Put an X next to it. B is the answer. When you're plugging in numbers, or when you're plugging in answer choices, the actual answer choices like we are here, soon as you find the one that works, that's the answer. When you're plugging in numbers that you make up, you have to check it against all the answer choices. You may only eliminate 2 of the answer choices, and then you have to come up with other numbers to try to figure out which of the remaining 2 is actually correct. Because more than one choice may work with the first number you choose. But in this case, we're not just plugging in numbers we make up. We're plugging in the answer choices. So as soon as you find it, here's B. B worked. Circle B, bubble it in. Let's just check C and D, just because we're trying to make sure we understand this. All right, we have the density, 3 equals mass of 24 divided by, now this volume would be 21. Well, 24 divided by 21 equals 1.142857, blah, 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 and then it keeps repeating. So somewhere around 1.14, blah, 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 blah. Well, 3 does not equal 1.14, so that's wrong. And then we'll try D. 3 equals, here's our mass, 24, divided by answer D, volume, which is 72. 24 divided by 72 equals 0.3333. Repeating forever and ever and ever. Well, 0.33 does not equal 3, so D is out. This one didn't work. This one didn't work. But again, when you are plugging in answer choices, you don't have to check anymore once you find the one that works. Only when you plug in your own numbers do you have to check it against every answer choice. But so here we found out that B works by plugging in answer choices. Here we found out that V equals 24 divided by 3, which equals 8, by using the formula that they gave us. The density of an object is equal to, density is equal to the mass divided by the volume. And then we manipulated it to get volume by itself. We found out we multiplied both sides by volume in this step, and we got dV equals m. Then we divided both sides by d to get this formula, V equals m over d. And then we were able to plug in the numbers that we had to find the V. Once I corrected my mistake and wrote in 3 for d instead of 8 for d. But good thing I was writing it, because otherwise I might have not noticed my mistake. V equals 24 over 3 equals 8. So you can do it by plugging in the answer choices, or you can do it by manipulating the formula to get V in terms of. In other words, V by itself equal to everything else. If you still have questions after watching this video, say so, and I'll find another way to explain it to you. SAT Practice Test 4, Section 4, Math Calculator, question number 5.